Frustration is a complex feeling that is unique to each individual. Some people tolerate some circumstances more, some less, like traffic, for example. However, there are certain situations and tasks that create a universal sense of frustration in those who have experienced it, and in video games, this is common. We have many hard games that knock you down repeatedly, making you wonder if you can even overcome it. Getting Over It and Cuphead are two games that are known for this, and today's game in question, Dark Souls. Talking about frustration in Dark Souls is a bit hard because really, there are so many parts I could choose to talk about, and this goes for the whole Soulsborne series library of games. I'm still currently playing through Dark Souls and I'm in the Duke's Archive right now, but before getting to all this, I've ridden a wave of emotions from sorrow to joy and frustration. This frustration came mainly from one area that I spent way too much time on, Blighttown, and I want to talk about this place and how this level is frustrating. This video will be similar in fashion to my Sonic Mania video on Studiopolis Zone, check it out if you haven't, but let's dissect Blighttown and what the frustration stems from. Blighttown is not a very welcoming place, considering that it's quite an early area, and there have been many difficult challenges for you to overcome to even get this far. The Undead Asylum, the Undead Burg, and lots of other mini places that you probably got lost on your way to get to Blighttown. Blighttown is located deep below the surface in a treehouse sort of city, minus all the trees. There are wooden shacks and planks that create a scaffolding of sorts that turns into this high-rise city of sorts. Still, keep in mind that this is all well underground, below the sewers of Lordran. The main entrance is through a gate in the sewers, which is locked, and you need to beat the gaping dragon to get the key. The ladder leads you straight down to the top of Blighttown, and from the subtle level design, the game is suggesting to you that your objective is to go down to get to the bottom of it. Along the way, you'll encounter a wide range of enemies standing guard on the planks. There are these fish people, the most common enemy here, and are the easiest to dispose of, and the second most common are the bloated men that wield poison bats that hit like a truck, which is not in your favor considering that if they hit you, you fall straight down, which is, it's over. There are two more enemies that you will find in the upper scaffolding, small puppies that shoot fire, and the blow dart enemies that inflict toxic on you. This does sound quite daunting, and if Blighttown ended here, I would be happy, but it doesn't, because this is only the upper section of 3 sections, I'd say. After making your way down deeper into the lower levels, after killing a giant leech, more fire puppies and toxic shooters, a ladder takes you down to the lowest section of Blighttown, where the true fun begins. At the bottom there will be planks leading you down to a swamp of Blighttown, where you'll meet bugs that can use a flamethrower, and flying leeches that toss poison at you, and keep spawning, please stop, no, where did they even come from at this point? I take out a whole colony of them, I turn around, and 4 more are heading my way in the distance. It doesn't make sense. Why? But anyways, this happens in the swamp, which has poison statues all the time. So the smartest move here is to let the poison get you and then traverse the area, as the damage done is minuscule over a long time, and you can use your heal when needed. Naturally, because it is a swamp, you move slower, but there are some higher raised areas for you to get to catch your bearings and scout out your next move. From here, after you manage to find some strategy to overcome the enemies that dwell at the bottom, there are a possible of 3 main ways for you to go. To the boss room, the water wheel that leads you out of the Blighttown into the Valley of the Drakes, and the left is an area with branches and leeches. There are a total of 2 bonfires in Blighttown, one on the upper level and the other hidden in a sewer passage, not really hidden, but in a sewer passage by the swamp. There are some enemies here and other gimmicks that I haven't gone over, but I'll talk about them when the time comes, but for now, this should give you a basic idea of Blighttown's structure and how it functions. Although difficulty is not what Miyazaki, the creator of the Soul series, was not the main thing that he wanted to show off, but rather the interconnected world, we can't deny the importance that the difficulty ultimately plays and how we perceive the Souls games. There are many difficult areas and unforgiving areas in the Soul series, but I feel that Blighttown manages to portray it the strongest. I really disliked Blighttown when I first got there, got fed up at all the shenanigans that it threw at me, and I also got annoyed at just the way it's spelled. Why is there an extra T in its name? Why not just one? But once I did understand Blighttown's purpose as a level, saw how it wanted the player to learn and cope with many problems at once, I understand the level and the lessons it wants the players to learn. And there are 3 lessons that the game wants the player to teach, well, to learn, and I'll try and explain them. So, well, first, we have the status effects of Poison and Toxic, 2 effects that really get annoying in tense moments. These 2 status effects manage to teach us 2 different things, well, technically 3, but first with Toxic. The Toxic effect, which can only be received from the blow dart shooters, which luckily are permadeath, meaning that once you use a bonfire, and if you kill the blow dart shooter, they do not respawn, unlike other enemies. They shoot a barrage of toxic darts at you, which is subtly hinting to you that to overcome this challenge, you can't play defensively. You've got to face it head on, either by rolling forward into cover or using your shield to cover the distance needed to take out the source. This is in stark contrast to the way general combat works, where you play a lot more defensively and shows the player that the same trick won't always work. Poison, on the other hand, teaches defensiveness and endurance. But first, the defense. Poison comes from the bloated enemies and the bugs that inflict poison. They have a slow build-up, meaning that once you get hit, the game wants you to step back and defend yourself to remove the build-up and wait for your next hit, reminding you to use the classic formula when the time is right of attack, defend, move, repeat. The other poison, from the swamp, almost instantly fills a poison gauge. I mean, it basically does that. This was the biggest lesson I learned from poison, and once I did get poison, I used all the items I had to get rid of it, but that was no use, as the gauge continues to build up as you traverse the area. Dark Souls is telling you that even if you have a handicapped status effect, you can still work with it, and it is hinting that at us to heal when necessary, and this is crucial to learn, which shows up in later areas as well. Blighttown does a perfect job at teaching how to deal with some of the status effects that you will eventually have to deal with. Naturally, status effects aren't the only thing that this level teaches you. Combat is also a key focus down in Blighttown, and with the vast numbers of enemies to offer, the game teaches you the lesson of analyzing your environment in close quarter combat. Because the surface areas you will be fighting on are very small and much less open compared to places such as the Undead Burg, you can't just roll out of any situation, as if you mess up one roll, you could be straight down to the bottom of Blighttown and lose all your souls from fall damage. The fish people encourage you to dodge into them to avoid their attacks rather than around them, and the bloated poison bat enemies make sure you use your shield to circle around them as they charge up their attack until you find an opening. Combat in Dark Souls is not just playing defensively and dodging whenever needed, but also factors in the environment and spatial awareness of the player. The final lesson, I believe, is to bask in slow exploration. With the combination of enemies to face head-on, swarms of enemies, and the slow swamp, Blighttown wants you, the player, to take your time when exploring rather than just simply speeding through it. This kind of stems from the spatial awareness factor that I've just mentioned, but here it relates more towards the exploration. Upon entering Blighttown, you will notice that there are many corpses with items hanging around in places that seem out of reach. Due to how this is set up and from software understanding how we as players think, these items set aside goals for us, side goals of sorts. Instead of taking the classic JRPG formula where you are rewarded with a multitude of items anywhere from combat in the overworld that just end up losing their value the more you amass, the items here are scarce and for the most part are very valuable towards your future endeavors, like giving you extra souls or humanity. These items make you go out of your way to maneuver your way around an already dreadful area, but as you understand the layout more as you go along, you understand the environment even better and deaths become few. Take the swamp here again. If you take it slow and pay close attention to the area, you will see that there is another type of enemy, a boulder thrower. No, not Chris Redfield, he punches boulders. But these throwers blend in with the environment and if not prepared, can make quick work of you. Spatial awareness and understanding the environment is yet again one of the many key skills that Blighttown wants to teach the player. Blighttown truly has a hostile world. Enemies hiding behind corners, shooting at you from long range and hit like a truck, and moreover, the setting is just begging for you to fall off and restart again. So when you do manage to overcome most of the challenges it throws at you, establish the route that fits your playstyle, do we feel any sort of accomplishment? Well, that comes down to each individual, and I'll give my opinion on how I felt upon completing this area, but Blighttown is difficult like many of the other areas in the game, and amongst one of the most disliked areas in the game, but why? Well, I've done a bit of research for it, and it comes down to performance, originally. I know that it's not fair to judge an area based on the game's performance overall, but from what I've heard and seen, Blighttown stutters and frame drops super quick at the speed of sound on old hardware, meaning the PlayStation 3 era. I have played games where the performance tanks, and once I do manage to somehow get past it, I don't feel the slightest feeling of accomplishment, but relief. Relief that I'll finally be able to move on from this area in the game, and I think this is a prime reason as to why Blighttown is disliked originally based on how it performed back in the day. But what about now? Do you feel accomplished by playing Blighttown today? This is a bit of a tough question to answer. As I mentioned earlier, everyone is different, but I think I can share my personal experience on how I felt upon completing it. It took me many tries to find out how to get down, costing me many of the souls, but I was also rewarded with these items, but death came plentiful, either by the toxic shooters or falling a couple 100 feet down. However, once complete, I personally did not feel that sense of gratification or reward that the typical From Software feeling has, but rather nothing. Once I had found the boss's domain, died once, worked my way all the way back through the swamp and beat it, and rang the second bell, I was just done with the place and moved on. I feel Blighttown just got more annoying as it got on, and the main thing that caused this was the pacing, I believe. Slow walking in the swamp, slowly making sure that you don't fall off the planks, and certain planks can also move. So this annoyance that Blighttown gave me just made me feel nothing when beating it. Compare this to the Undead Burg, Asylum Demon, and Bell Gargoyles gave me this sense of success and dopamine that gave me this confidence boost, and then I died, and I had to build up this feeling of confidence again. You know, that's what From Software does. I did not get this in Blighttown, and in my playthrough of the game so far, this truly is my least favorite part of Dark Souls. One factor that gives Blighttown an extra point is its boss fight, Queen Witch Quelaag. Compared to the whole area, she was not too difficult, and I found that quite positive in fact. But once you do beat her and ring the second bell, you can say that this is where the game actually begins. Even if Blighttown is probably the lowest point you'll get up to at this point, don't worry, you're going to be going to Sen's Fortress, a place filled with so many traps that even the guards there struggle to work. I mean, then there's Anor with one of the greatest boss fights ever, Ornstein and Smo. There's so much good that comes after Blighttown, and Dark Souls truly is amazing, and even if Blighttown is not so fun, I've understood its place in this world. It's there to pose as a teaching tool for the player, giving them subtle hints as to what skills they can take with them to the next areas of the game, and it's low contrast to the highs of the game, and I mean that metaphorically. Blighttown serves its purpose well in Darkstone, and it is a vital part to the whole Dark Souls experience. And with that, welcome to the end of the video. I hope that I didn't say any terribly hot Dark Souls takes because I'm still playing through it, and I'm enjoying it so far. I'm really enjoying the 3 Souls games that I'm playing, Elden Ring and Bloodborne, along with this one. But anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the video. Leave your takes on Blighttown and Dark Souls down below, and any support or critiques are heavily appreciated. This video was actually written like 3 whole weeks from when this actually comes out because I'll be away, but expect videos to still be twice a month because I'm have them planned up and working on them. But yeah, please give me some more tips for the end game of Dark Souls because I think I'll have made it that far by the time the video comes out since I'm at the Duke's Archives right now. But yeah, with that, have a good rest of your day and see you next time. With that, Storm out.